Oluchi was the kind of woman whose presence felt like a balm. She didn't speak loudly or demand attention, but when she entered a room, you felt it. Her smile was soft, like the first light of dawn, and her eyes held a quiet fire, one that spoke of dreams, of resilience, of a heart that had known both gentleness and grief. She grew up in Enugu, the youngest of four girls, in a modest but warm home. Her father was a retired civil servant, her mother a schoolteacher. Oluchi spent her childhood lost in books, writing poems in the margins of her notebooks, and helping her mother with lesson plans. She dreamed of teaching one day not just academics, but life itself. She believed in the power of words, in the healing of stories. At 22, fresh from her NISC, she was in Abuja applying for teaching jobs, staying with her cousin Amaka. Life felt like a wide-open book, full of possibility. And that was when she met Chinedu. He was 32, tall, with a voice like velvet and eyes that seemed to see right through you. They met at a book club Amaka had dragged her to. Chinedu was discussing Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, and Oluchi was captivated by his passion, the way he spoke about identity, colonialism, and the fragility of masculinity. He noticed her too. He asked her opinion, listened intently, and smiled as if he already knew her. After the meeting, he walked her to the bus stop. They talked about everything: poetry, faith, the kind of love that feels like coming home. He asked for her number, and her heart fluttered as she gave it to him. The calls began that same night. He texted her good morning every single day. He called her my angel. He sent her poems he claimed to have written just for her. He wanted to know her dreams, her fears, her childhood secrets. He told her she was rare, that her quiet nature was sacred, that her body was a temple he would never defile. Oluchi had never felt so seen, so cherished. Within weeks they were inseparable. He took her to fancy dinners, to church, to meet his friends. He told her he wanted to marry her, that he'd never met anyone like her, that she made him want to be a better man. Her friends thought he was intense. Her mother worried he was moving too fast. But Oluchi, swept away, just said, "Love is meant to be bold." 6 months later, she moved in with him. His flat in Guarimpa was beautiful, with bookshelves lining the walls and scented candles in every room. He told her she didn't need to work, yet he wanted her to rest, to write, to be his muse. The first few weeks were pure bliss. He cooked for her, prayed with her, massaged her feet after long days. He whispered that he couldn't sleep without her beside him, that her presence was the only thing that calmed his inner demons. She felt chosen, protected, and deeply loved. But then, slowly, the mask began to slip. It started with small things, almost unnoticeable. He didn't like her wearing makeup, saying it made her look cheap. He would frown if she laughed too loudly in public, muttering that it drew and wanted attention. He asked her to stop talking to her male friends, convinced they were all wolves in sheep's clothing. Oluchi tried to understand. She thought it was just his protective way of loving, that maybe he had been hurt before. She believed her love could heal him. Then the questions began. Who were you just talking to? Why didn't you pick up my call immediately? Why are you wearing that dress? She tried to explain, to reassure him, but the questions just kept coming, each one sharper and more accusatory than the last. The first time he hit her, it was over a missed call. She'd been teaching a free class for an NGO, and her phone was on silent. When she got home, he was waiting. His eyes were dark, his jaw clenched tight. "You think I'm a fool?" he shouted. Before she could even form a response, his palm struck her cheek. The sting was shocking. She staggered, stunned into silence. He froze for a moment, as if surprised by his own action. Then, he dropped to his knees. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice cracking. "You know how much I love you. I panicked. I thought something had happened to you." She forgave him, because she thought love meant forgiveness. The next day, he brought her flowers. He cooked her favorite meal. He played her favorite song. She told herself it was a one-time mistake, that he was just scared of losing her, that maybe she just needed to be more careful. But soon, the apologies became a routine. And so did the bruises. He began to control everything. What she wore, who she was allowed to speak to, when she could leave the house. He installed cameras in the living room, claiming it was for their safety. He started checking her phone daily, deleting contacts he didn't approve of. She stopped teaching. He said her students were a distraction from their future. She stopped writing. He said her poems were too sad. She stopped laughing. He said it made her look unserious. Her entire world shrank to the size of their apartment, with his moods dictating the weather. Some days were warm and sunny. He'd kiss her forehead, call her my queen, and they'd talk about the children they would have one day. But on other days, the storm would arrive without any warning. A broken plate over a minor disagreement, a slammed door that shook the walls, a fresh bruise on her arm that she would have to cover with foundation and long sleeves. She stopped asking questions. She stopped expecting apologies. She learned to read his silences like a sacred text, knowing exactly when to speak and when to make herself invisible. And still, she stayed. She stayed because his mother was sick, and he cried that he couldn't cope without her support. She stayed because he lost his job, and she felt she was the only one who still believed in him. And she stayed because he threatened that if she ever left, he would end his own life. So she stayed. She carried the pain quietly, like a heavy cross she was destined to bear. She wore long sleeves in the sweltering heat. She perfected her public smile. She told her pastor they were just working through things. She gave up her dreams, her voice, her very self, all for the desperate hope that one day, her sacrifice would be enough to finally heal him. But it never was. Thank you for watching. If you or someone you know is in a similar situation, please know that you are not alone and help is available. There are resources and people who can support you. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Remember to like this video and follow our channel for more stories. Stay safe.